There comes a moment in life when something just stops making sense. Not because anything big happened, not because your life fell apart, but because something inside you shifted. You're going through the motions, doing the same things you've always done, but suddenly it all feels wrong. Not dramatically, just empty. You catch yourself staring at your ceiling at 2 a.m., asking questions you never asked before. Is this all there is? Why do I feel disconnected from everything? And deep down, a voice whispers back, because you have been asleep. This isn't anxiety. It's not a burnout. It's not a phase. It's a wake-up call. And it's the beginning of a journey you didn't expect, but were always meant to take. Because what you're feeling isn't the end, it's the beginning. You're not broken, you're breaking through. Over the next few minutes, you'll walk through the 5 stages of spiritual awakening, not as theory, but as lived experience. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you are, and you'll never feel lost again. It usually starts small. You wake up one day and something just feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it. Everything looks the same. Your job, your friends, your routine. Nothing has changed, but you have. You're in the middle of a conversation, and suddenly you realize you're not really there. Your body's present, but your mind is somewhere else, watching. You used to enjoy these things, the shows, the weekends, the banter, but now they feel hollow, and you don't know why. You start feeling disconnected, not in a dramatic way, just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of performing, tired of the noise. And then the thoughts begin, the quiet ones. Why am I doing all this? Is this really who I want to be? What's the point? At first, you ignore them. You distract yourself. You scroll, you overwork, you stay busy. But the thoughts keep coming, and they don't stop. Because this isn't stress. This isn't sadness. This is your soul trying to get your attention. And even if you try to shut it down, it's already started. Once you notice something's wrong, you can't unsee it. This is where it begins. Stage 1. The call. This is what most people recognize as the first stage of spiritual awakening. The call. It doesn't come with answers. It begins with questions. After that first crack, something deeper begins to stir. You feel a pull, but you don't know where it's pulling you. You find yourself thinking about things you never used to. The meaning of life, why we're here, what happens after death. Not out of fear, but out of curiosity. It's like a part of you just woke up after being asleep for years, and now it wants to know. You start looking for signs, and they show up.
synchronicities, dreams that feel more real than your waking life, moments that seem orchestrated. You think of someone and they call. You ask a question and the answer appears in a video or a book or a stranger's words. It's subtle, but undeniable. And the more you notice it, the more it grows. You're not chasing anything yet, but something inside you is watching, listening. This is the call. And once you hear it, you can't go back. It's not loud. It doesn't demand anything, but it changes everything. You can try to ignore it, try to bury it under normal life, but the call doesn't stop. It waits. And when you're finally ready to follow it, that's when the search begins.
Stage 2, the search. Once you answer the call, you enter what is known as the second stage of awakening, the search. It starts with curiosity and quickly becomes obsession. Now you need answers. You want to understand everything. You dive into books, videos, teachers. You sign up for courses, start journaling, try meditation, breath work, shadow work. You're absorbing it all, hungry, hopeful. Finally, it feels like you found something, like you're on the path. But the more you take in, the more confused you become. Every method says something different. One teacher says, let go. Another says, manifest. One book says, surrender. Another says, take control. You try everything, and yet you feel more lost than before. You want to go deeper, but you don't know what deeper even means anymore. You start questioning your progress. Why isn't this working? Why am I still anxious? Why do I still feel empty? The truth is, you're not doing it wrong. You're just in the middle of the storm. This is the stage where people get stuck. They confuse collecting knowledge with transformation. But real change doesn't come from learning more. It comes from something else. And when everything you've tried stops working, when all the tools break down, that's when you enter the hardest part of all. Stage 3, the dark night of the soul. Then comes the part most people fear, and the most powerful stage of all. Stage 3, the dark night of the soul. This is the stage most people fear, and the one that matters most. The dark night of the soul. You've tried everything, and now nothing helps. You feel broken, empty, disconnected from everything and everyone. Even your own thoughts don't feel safe anymore. You stop meditating, stop journaling, stop pretending, because none of it is working. You look around and feel like a stranger in your own life, your job, your relationships, even your name. It all feels distant. You ask yourself, who am I without all of this? What's left? And for a while, the answer is nothing. This is the collapse, the death of the old self, not physically, but spiritually. Everything you thought you were starts to dissolve. The roles, the stories, the masks.
It's terrifying, it's painful, and it feels like it will never end. But it's also necessary. Because until everything false is stripped away, you can't meet the truth of who you really are. This isn't a failure, it's a breaking open. And even though you feel lost, you're closer than you've ever been.
Stage 4. The awakening. After the collapse comes clarity. This is stage 4. Not dramatic, not loud, just real. It doesn't come with fireworks. There is no voice from the sky. No sudden aha moment that fixes everything. It's quieter than that. More sudden. You just stop fighting. You stop trying to figure everything out. You stop needing to know what comes next. And strangely, that brings peace. You wake up one day and the heaviness you've been carrying, it's still there, but it doesn't own you anymore. You feel still. Not numb, not elated, just still. And in that stillness, things start to make sense. You remember moments from the past and see them differently. You notice people's behavior without taking it personally. You forgive yourself for not knowing what you couldn't have known before. You're not enlightened, you're not perfect, but you're present. You've stopped searching for answers in every direction. You've turned inward and you realize it was never about fixing anything. It was about remembering. This is awakening. Not the kind that removes all pain, but the kind that allows you to face it with compassion. You no longer need to label yourself spiritual. You're just aware, more than you've ever been. And from that awareness, something else is born. The desire to live differently, to return to life, but not as you were, as who you've become.
Stage 5. Integration. This is the fifth and final stage of awakening. Integration. The part where you stop chasing light and start living it. You've had the clarity, you've tasted the stillness, you've seen behind the curtain, but now life calls you back. Back into the world, back into responsibilities, back into relationships, back into the noise. And this is where it gets real, because it's easy to feel awakened on a mountaintop, in a retreat, in solitude. But can you bring that into your job, into rush hour traffic, into family dinners, into grief? That's the challenge of integration. It's not about separating your spiritual life from your normal life. It's about dissolving that line completely. You start to notice how you respond to stress, how you communicate, how you treat people even when they trigger you. You don't always get it right, but now you notice and correct. Not to be better, but to be honest. You no longer have to wear the mask of the awakened one. You're just you, softened, grounded, present. And here's the secret. You are now the mirror. Your presence alone brings calm. Your silence creates space. Your authenticity gives others permission to be real. You have returned, not to who you were, but to where you're needed. This is how awakening becomes a way of living.
So now you've seen it. The quiet beginning, the hunger, the breaking,
the peace, and the return. Each one a chapter, each one a part of the journey. But this path isn't linear. It's not a staircase, it's a spiral. You may move forward, you may circle back, you may live in two stages at once, and that's okay. Because the goal isn't to finish, the goal is to walk, honestly, fully, awake. So now I ask you, which stage are you in right now? Say it in the comments, even if it's messy, even if you're unsure, because someone else might be there too, and your words might be exactly what they needed to hear. And maybe that's the whole point of this. Not to walk alone, but to remember we're waking up together.